What's up, everybody? We are back. We're back, guys. We're back. We took a little break, had some logistics to iron out, but we're back and we ain't leaving, okay? So you're gonna have to deal with us. Of course, I'm so grateful to have my BFF in this role, Dean Thomas, joining me as always with his knowledge. Dean, what you doing?
I'm just happy to be back with you. I mean, I miss you. It's been a couple of weeks and it just hasn't been the same. So I'm just happy to be back, chopping it up, talking fights with somebody who knows
Oh,
fights. There's a
thanks.
big difference talking fights and then talking fights with somebody who knows fights.
I appreciate that. You look like you're ready to film some green screen stuff. Are you got some basement projects going on? What's the deal?
Yeah, I'm doing some stuff for you heard of Marvel?
Are you really?
No. I was wondering if you heard of it. I was just 'cause I'm not doing that.
You're like,
I'm just
you
kidding.
heard of it? I'm not working
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah. You heard of them? I'm not working with them. But
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I'm just doing some green screen stuff. Just serenity backgrounds.
nice,
Mountains and things
nice.
like that. SpongeBob stuff like that.
Yeah. Guys, before we get into this breakdown of the main event of UFC 267, I should probably say that off the top. I'm a little rusty, so everyone's gonna have to bear with me. Um, we have some housekeeping, so stay locked in here toward the end of this video because I put out a request for questions on my Instagram and got a ton of responses. Probably won't be able to include everybody, but I'm going to keep doing that moving forward so we can get people hopefully to come over from Instagram and come here and check out whether we answer their questions or not. So there'll be a chunk of you at the end that will be interested to hear what we have to say. Dean, before we talk about the main event, the vacant light heavyweight title between Carlos Ulberg and Jiri Prochazka, can we talk about Joe Pyfer?
Oh, you want to talk about Joe Pyfer?
I
Be
do.
like Joe Pyfer.
I
Let's talk Joe
do. Dean,
Pyfer.
that
Yeah.
was so that congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Uh, just being with him and talk because he was going through a lot and he had this sort of this spiritual awakening
Yeah.
and he's changed and everybody's like, yo, I don't know, and sometimes I don't, sometimes it doesn't always transfer over, but in this case, I mean, it really locked him in. And I've worked with him in the past and he was a completely different person. Like
Yeah.
in the past, I remember him getting nervous before fights, but this time he was just like, he was so calm and he was so relaxed but so focused on what he needed to do in order
Yeah.
to win this fight. And it was a great week. It really was. I mean, not even just the week. It was a great week, but just the experience with Joe Pyfer this time was really, really memorable, and I'm proud of him.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
We interviewed him on the desk for the London show because the desk was in Vegas. So we were previewing, his fight coming up. And it was so funny because as soon as they did the Zoom or whatever, as soon as he clicked off, I was like, that's a different person. That is a different
He's a
person.
different person.
And he didn't even like fully get into it in the interview, but even the moment, because we had a lot of, you know how it is. There's a lot of dead time where you're just trying to help them set up their shot and trying to get things working and like the sound working, all that stuff that doesn't make it to air. Even just that, observing him being, he was like a different person. I don't know how to explain it. Like his energy was 180 degrees different. It was really, really cool to see. Really cool to
Yeah,
see.
when Paul Felder, he was on Paul Felder's show, and
Hmm.
Paul was called me after, was like, "Yo, what's going on?" Because
Yeah.
like it alarmed a lot of people. Like when you're used to seeing Joe a certain way, and then when
He
you
was
see him the way he is
angry a
now,
lot. Like he was
yes, he
just
was.
a very angry guy. I
And,
love Joe, by the way.
yeah,
I
for sure.
love Joe. But he had a very intense, angry, almost kind of went beyond a chip on his shoulder type of energy to him all the time.
Absolutely, and he don't even curse no more.
Really?
Yeah, he
Huh.
don't curse no more. So I like this. I really like this Joe better. I'm hoping he stays this way. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm hoping he stays this way because I really appreciate this Joe Pyfer.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you and to him. Big, big weekend. It was cool. I feel like I could, when he was laying down that ground and pound, I was like, oh, Dean's so happy right
Oh,
now.
I was so happy. But Laura, I gotta tell you, and I said this to Matt Sarah earlier today. I can't rewatch it.
Really?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I love Joe, but there's just something about watching Izzy get pounded
Yeah,
like that.
I know.
I want. I'm happy for Joe, and I love that Joe won. but I won't rewatch the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I won't do
Yeah.
it. I mean,
That's
Izzy's the guy. I won't watch it again.
I felt that way watching it too.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
was
was
hard
one
to
of those
watch.
fights
Yeah,
where it was I was so happy for Joe, but it was hard to watch as someone
yeah,
who adores and is a big fan of Israel Adesanya. And I loved Izzy's post-fight speech.
yeah,
Class, 100% class.
yeah.
All right, we are not here to talk about that fight, as great as it was. We are here to talk about the fact that we have a vacant light heavyweight title. Alex Pereira going up to heavyweight, of course. So whatever shall we do? Well, I guess we'll have Carlos Ulberg fight Jiri Prochazka. So as always, Dean, before we get into the nitty gritty, just your big reaction to this matchup. What were your initial thoughts?
Oh, it's the one to make. I mean,
Mm.
it's such a no brainer of a matchup that you. I mean, it's not even another two guys that you would even consider putting in this position. Carlos Ulberg is the rightful, deserving person to fight for the title. And then, because he should have been fighting Alex anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
now Alex moving up, what do? Yuri Prochazka. I mean, Yuri's run in the last couple of fights has just been so spectacular that this is the right fight to make. It is a great matchup. It's the right fight to make. This is one of them situations where everything lines up for it. It happens in Miami, just an hour and a half from where I am currently. So
Yep.
I can't wait. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it just feels good. It feels right.
Yeah,
On one hand, you've got Jiri Prochazka, who's 6-2 in the UFC, because obviously he came over to UFC from another major promotion. It's not like he was a baby, but this guy has 32 wins. And you know how many decisions he's got?
let me guess.
Okay.
One.
One.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
32 wins, one decision is absolutely bananas to be fighting that long and not to have gone to a decision but one time.
Hmm.
And then on the other side of you, of course, you've got Carlos Ulberg, who you alluded to has just been sensational. Obviously, he had the little trip up with Kennedy and Nzechukwu early. I think it might have been in his UFC debut, if I remember right. But now he's on a 9-fight win streak, and that win streak, Dean, is the second longest in the history of the light heavyweight division behind John Jones. So we've got two very, very interesting characters in this story.
Yeah, I love it, and I hope I can really add some value today because I spoke with Yuri today earlier. So,
Oh,
and it really gave me it really yeah. I'm sorry, but
I was gonna give you a raise anyway this year, Dean. That's just okay.
no, but it really gave me a little bit more insight into what I think is going to happen in the fight,
Yeah.
and and I'm talking about the fight this weekend anyway on the desk. I know there, so I've been really paying attention to some of the things that might make sense for
Insane.
this fight. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, guys, before we jump into the tail of the tape and the stats, I have to ask you so kindly to please like, please subscribe. This is how Dean and I feed our families, feed our generations. Okay?
Look at me.
You clicking that button makes all the difference in the world. You don't think it does, but it does. So just do that right now. All right, tail of the tape. We've got Jiri Prochazka, 32-5-1. Carlos Ulberg, 14-1-0. You know what's crazy? Well, I'll get to that. I'll save that for when I'm done here. Average fight time for Jiri Prochazka, 11 minutes, 7 for Ulberg, 6'3" for Prochazka, 6'4" for Ulberg. Yuri's 33, Carlos is 35. 80-inch reach, this is interesting. 80-inch reach for Jiri Prochazka, 77-inch reach. So even though Ulberg is an inch taller, he's got a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Strikes landed per minute, 5.69 for Jiri, 6.54 for Ulberg. Striking accuracy, 55% for Jiri, 55% for Ulberg. Defense is 45% for Jiri, 51% for Ulberg, so a little bit higher there. And then grappling, we know these guys don't really tend to go to that part of their game, but if they do, Ulberg has 85% takedown defense, and neither of them really works on looking for submissions very often. Although Ulberg did have that one submission. It was after he hit the guy, though. What I was going to say is I was trying to remind myself of, I like to remind myself of the backstory of these guys, too, and, think about their broader context career. Carlos Ulberg was 3-0 when he was on Contender Series. I kind of forgot about that. 3-0 in MMA is wild.
That's so green.
So green.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he had the kickboxing background, but I don't even think he necessarily had like, 100 kickboxing fights either. He was a semi-pro, might have been pro. I've never quite gotten the story right. Footy player, but yeah, to come on Contender Series 3-0, and then to get put right into the UFC, and he made the one mistake obviously against Kennedy, got knocked out, but since then to be learning on the job, he's looked pretty good, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I mean to get into UFC like that, 3-0, it says a lot about the division, but then it also says a lot about him though, because regardless of the division, however you might look at it, he's still under the spotlight, under the
Mhm.
microscope, under the microscope, in front of thousands, millions of people trying to learn his craft and getting it right.
Yeah.
With the exception of Kennedy, getting it right, figuring it out, and then being able to put a string together of 9 wins, which is incredibly difficult to do in MMA,
Yeah.
regardless of division. But we've watched him grow up, we've watched him evolve, we've watched him mature, and he's gotten it right. And he's done this all while still maintaining his pretty boy aura,
Yeah.
which
You know,
is again that's something that's difficult to do.
it's funny. It's kind of, well, I mean, I get why he has it because he's a good-looking guy, obviously. And he was the model, and he was on the Bachelor type show that he was on in New Zealand. He does come from like a pretty rough upbringing, though. Did you know about that? Like he was in foster care,
Oh, really?
yeah, in almost his entire childhood. So from the age of 4 to the age of 15, he was in the foster care system. So he bounced around from foster homes and boys' homes, and I've never found an interview where he talked very in depth about it, but it sounds obviously his home life wasn't good as a kid. It sounds like there was, maybe violence and drugs and stuff involved. He's never really gone into detail, and he's never really gone into detail about the stuff that happened to him in foster care. But it sounds like some bullying and targeting and maybe worse. So for a guy who comes across as very like, I'm pretty, I'm a model, I was a stripper, I think he's about that life and has a lot more depth in terms of his storyline than people maybe give him credit for.
Well, I was just going to say that's the biggest difference between him and Alan Joban. Like Alan just leans into being pretty, and he ain't about that life. I hope Alan hears this.
We love you, Alan. So yeah, he is an interesting character, but you're right. He still has this very like pristine, clean image. And Yuri, on the other hand, is such a bizarre, wonderful, fascinating human being. One of the major storylines that's going to be part of this fight week is the fact that he has a baby due 3 days after the fight. So it might as well be due on the day of the fight. Like babies don't come when they're due, Yuri. So
Right,
there's
for
a
sure.
strong chance it's going to come the day before, the day of, like crazy.
Yeah, but the one thing about Yuri, and this is what I learned about talking, and I knew this, right? But he just reconfirmed all these things, is how dedicated and focused he is on a task, on achieving something. And he talked today when we spoke to him. He spoke about cutting a hole in the ice and then swimming under that for 30 meters. And I'm thinking, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like I like when yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yo, I'm out. So I cold plunged for a little bit, but when I did it, like the coldest I did, it was like it was on Looking for a Fight, and me and Matt Sarah we did it was like 36 or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And that was like it took every ounce of my attention to sit in that for like 2 minutes. Every ounce, like I mean, I was like counting the seconds, every ounce. I couldn't imagine being in ice and swimming 30 meters and coming back and finding a hole. I could, and he said that it was so difficult, but the fact that he's able to do things like that,
Yeah.
and he's able to deal with but just like all the different obstacles of being able to do that, just speaks to his dedication, his ability to achieve what he sets his mind to, and just, I mean, it's a bit crazy too. Like to be honest with you,
It is, but it's fascinating to see someone who has this. It's not just like I don't think it's an adrenaline junkie thing. I think it's a can I master my mind sort of thing. When he was in Mexico City, because he trained in Mexico City for quite a while at altitude recently, and I know he went climbing, and I remember him posting like this story on this like friggin' insane cliff. He'd just been out there free climbing. I don't know if he's ever done it before. He said, "Yes, I went past a fence and it said no go, but I went anyway, and it was very hard. It was very, very difficult, quite difficult." So it's bad when he's saying he started to get nervous. And then he sits in a sauna for 4 hours, in an insanely hot sauna for 4 hours straight. Like he loves the whole dark room thing that we've talked about years past. He loves to find the limits of his mind and then just continue to push him. It's just fascinating.
Well, so he talked about challenging himself because he comes from a background. He said he played floorball, which is like hockey. He played with his friends when he was growing up, and then he did some BMX stuff with his friends just growing up. But then he said it all turned when he read the Book of the Five Rings.
Oh.
Yeah, the Book of the Five Rings, and mastering himself. And we have a lot in common because I have the tattoo of the Book of the Five Rings right here. So I was like, yo, you my dog.
Did you show it to him?
No, I didn't show. I think I showed it to him a long time ago.
Okay.
But I haven't. It didn't hit me the way it hit him.
Yeah.
Like I master myself by like, if I can walk by a cookie without eating the whole cookie.
Listen, everyone's rings are different, Dean.
Right? Yeah, my rings are different. Like my rings are like onion rings. Like that. That's my rings.
Yeah,
so it's different for me. But the fact that he's able to do these things it's remarkable. It is remarkable. And speaking to him, like he's such an inspiration. I was so inspired by his journey because he's not like. He didn't come like he wasn't brought up like this. Like he found it later in life. Like he grew up a regular guy and he found it later in life. And the fact that he's still able to do these things and challenge himself and push himself to these limits is remarkable. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is really fascinating. If you were to describe his fighting style to someone who had never seen him fight, what would you say?
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
It's really chaotic. But while it's chaotic, there is a method to it though. I was watching him today and I was like, wow, he's really doing some like it's chaotic, but he has a system to it where he's like he has these certain patterns. Like he'll hit you and move off and hit you and then move off, then hit you, then move off. And I think maybe that part of that is recent because like he did say he's been working on his defense because his 2 losses in the UFC come from not being able to defend himself. So he's been working on his defense. So, and then when you watch him fight, like Khalil Roundtree, like he did a really good job of defending himself. Jamal Hill, really good job of defending himself. So while it's chaotic, he's still able to, within himself, have a system of where he's always on offense. And it's so fan friendly, especially like if you're not an MMA fan, like he's the guy that I'd say, okay, let's, guys, we're going to make some fans today. Let's put him in there. Yeah.
Exactly. He makes full use of all 8 limbs and then some, which is what makes him so much fun to watch. Neither of these guys go to their grappling very much, although they are capable grapplers. Obviously, we'll talk a lot about the striking, but in terms of the grappling, do you anticipate either of them looking to mix it up because they're both facing a striker who's very different from themselves?
And this is where I have a hard time predicting fights.
We all do. It's impossible.
Yeah, like predicting winners because
we're all just pretending like we know what's going to happen.
Because in my opinion, I'm like, yo, you need to take this guy down.
No.
It's like you got to take him down, right? You got to mix that in. Like even if you don't get him all the way down, you got to mix that in. But I don't anticipate it. I don't anticipate either guy looking for that. I think, especially like if I'm Carlos Ulberg and you're looking at a guy who has in the past had defensive troubles, gotten better at it. But if I'm him, I'm still thinking that I can catch him.
Yeah.
I don't need to take him down. I can catch him. He's going to give me an opener. I can catch him. And if you're Jiri, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get to him. I can get, like, I can close the space and I'm going to get to him and I'm going to hit him with one of these big shots. And he's finished 30 guys. So why would he not think he couldn't finish this guy? So I don't expect them to take each other down and try to rate one or the other. But,
Yeah.
That's why I'm not coaching him, because I'm like, hey, take him down.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the talk for this matchup is going to revolve around pressure and who's better at delivering it and who's better at responding to it. And I did see an interview where Jiri talked about how he didn't feel like Carlos responded very well to pressure. And when you watch the Kennedy and Nzechukwu fight, it's certainly easy to see why he would say that. And there are other fights where extended pressure, like really long blitzes, you can see him become pretty uncomfortable. I mean, most people do. But then you watch the Alonzo Menafield fight, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to run into that guy, because he fights so well off of angles, and countering and using that check left hook is nasty.
Yeah, and that check left hook is hard to see sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to see sometimes. And like Jiri, while I say his defense has gotten better, his eyes and his awareness has gotten better, if he's not prepared for that check left hook, he can actually run into it. Not only just get hit with it, but just like zip, bip at the same time. So that could also be to work to his disadvantage, because he likes a lot of movement on the inside. And if he gets caught with a punch while he's dipping when he should be dabbing, that's the problem.
The zip, bip, dip, dab.
Yeah, and Carlos is such a, while we say he might not respond to pressure that well, when he's doing his thing, when he doesn't have to respond to pressure, he's so aware, and his vision is so good, and his instincts are so strong that he's able to hit his targets. And that's why this matchup can be very compelling, because we have those two different dynamics. Somebody who is like very visionary and is very accurate, and then we got a guy who's very chaotic.
Yeah.
And will just, he's just going to crash the whole board.
Yeah, powerful precision versus devastating chaos. That's kind of how.
Yeah, while you're playing, some people play checkers, some people play chess, but like Jiri's just going to knock your pieces off, whether no matter what it is. Like, so it's an interesting matchup for that reason.
Do you feel like the leg kicks of Ulberg could be a factor? Because that's definitely something that Jiri, although he's continued to win, other than when he faces Alex Pereira, it does feel like everyone kind of gets to him with the leg kicks. It's almost like he always has this sort of, I'm not going to say slow start, because he's had some quick fights too, but like, I feel like recently there's a lot of moments where you're like, oh, kind of worried for Jiri. Oh, he's eating some leg kicks. Oh, this isn't good. And then all of a sudden he finds a moment to really unleash the chaos, and then he wins the fight.
Well, yeah, it's because he's such a headhunter, and he can get hyper-focused on that, right? Because you can see it in his eyes where he's just like, and then like bit, he get kicked in the leg, right? So sometimes he can get hyper focused on what's going on up here, that he's neglecting what's going on down here. And before you know it, his legs are a bit chewed up, but he's been able to get past that with everybody except Alex. So I don't see why he would consider this guy to be the one to respect.
Yeah.
Right. So, but he should, though, because like that's the time when you get caught, when you're thinking, oh, he's not going to do that to me. That's the time where he does it to you, because you're thinking he's not going to do it to you. So I think he does have to pay attention a little bit more to some of those leg kicks, because you can't allow yourself to have that start to accumulate. Those leg kicks, when they start to accumulate, that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And Jiri can't allow that to happen.
And Carlos has some very, very good leg kicks. He's, like all the fighters at City Kickboxing, he's amazing at understanding his distance and where he needs to be. Although I just can't, I was trying to think, like, what would it be like to try to train for Jiri? And obviously there are holes, but like, when I was rewatching his fights, he's so masterful at least the thing that jumped out to me, manipulating rhythm and throwing on an offbeat. And it's kind of hard to describe the difference between that and throwing after a feint or throwing after a fake. But there's something about a guy who's able to find the beat between the beat and throw on that makes it so difficult.
And then he's spinning, and then he's doing all kind of crazy stuff. And I think the only way you train for him is that you get two drunk guys and fight them at the same time.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because it's hard to really find somebody to really replicate what he's going to do. The only but what you can do is you can prepare for certain moments, right? You can, because no matter what Yuri's doing out here, if he's not touching you or if he's not in your circle, none of that matters. The only thing that will matter that you have to really be in position for is that if he crosses your line. Then if he crosses your line, you have to figure out where you think he's going to be and try to attack that. Because what he does outside of that line, it doesn't really matter. And that's how he kind of shakes people up, because he's so busy outside of the line, of the range, that now you're starting to panic and you're starting to get out of position and you're starting to overreact. And then that's when he comes in and he catches you. So you really have to do a good job of, one, being patient and maintaining your position while he's outside of it. And then when he comes in, just anticipate where he's going to be and see if you can't catch him. Bink. But it's a lot easier said than done. Like, it's because not many people have done it, like, except for Alex.
Yeah.
No one else is really do it.
If you're coaching Carlos Ulberg, what are you telling him some of the important things are?
Again, you just can't get out of position. And so for Ulberg, and it's tough because Ulberg doesn't necessarily fight with this like discipline where he's here, right? Like, he's on the outside, he's moving, he plays this long range game, and he uses distance as his number one defense. And that might not always work in a situation like this, because he's using distance as his number one defense, he still has to come back in order to counter. And that's when Jiri is most dangerous, because he's going to make you miss. So I think that for Carlos, he's going to have to at some point be a little bit more disciplined and not use distance as his defense, but use real defense. Sit with him and catch in return, but you got to catch in return, because Yuri's going to give you them openings, like, because he's going to come in like,
yeah,
he's going to give you some opportunities to hit him. But I think that you have to be disciplined enough to be here and catch and not try to use your feet to get out of the way, because when you come back and throw and miss, you're going to be really exposed.
It's crazy how much Jiri is able to make guys miss and make them tired in the process.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because
that was another thing I hadn't really honed in on until I rewatched some film today. I was like, God, these guys are getting tired just from missing.
Well, because you got this maniac in front of you doing his hands down, and you're like, what? And you're like, rah.
Yeah, Khalil got tired.
Yeah, he did. Got tired, like, more than anything. Like, these guys are getting tired because they're missing him, because like he seems so open, but you're out of position trying to hit him. So like, and also too, man, and this is where you also got to grab him. You know, like, I think you got to grab him and you got to clinch with him and you got to, dirty box him a little bit. You got to try to get your hands on him, because like, I know it's enticing to think that you can hit him because he's so open and he's making all these big movements, and you think that, there he goes right there, let me swing. And then you swing and he's gone. So I think you got to grab him first before you try to take a swing at him.
Okay, on the flip side, if you are telling Jiri Prochazka what to focus on, what are some of the things that you see for him to do to Carlos Ulberg to
crash out? He's the best crasher outer in the game. Like, you got to crash out a bit. Yeah, he crashed out. When he gets going and he's juking and jiving, he's got all this head movement and he's making you miss, because like, he's in front of you. The next thing you know, he's like over here, and then he pops you this way, and then he comes back this way, then pops you that way. Like, he's so good at doing that, and because his defense and his eyes have gotten better, he worked on it, and it's gotten better that he's making guys miss more now. So, and just making guys so uncomfortable. Like, he makes you so uncomfortable, but he's got to get close enough to you to do that. So if I'm Jiri, you got to get close to him. Get close to him, keep making him uncomfortable, and keep making him miss. And when he misses, like, Yuri's always, like, even if he's not in a position to hit you, he'll spin into position to hit you. The one thing that I do worry about that Yuri hasn't gotten rid of, that I would, if I was his coach, I'd be like, That's like the jump knees.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, the jump knees to me, I'm like, "Ugh, let's
a
we
good
gotta
way to
cut that
eat
out."
and eat an elbow when you land.
Yeah, that's you ain't got your feet on the floor, man. You get hit like that, you going out. So I
Yeah.
would tell them to get rid of that technique.
All right, Dean. As they say in the cattle industry, nut cutting time. Who you got?
Oh, nut cutting time.
Nut cutting time.
I got Jiri Prochazka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too
Is he the
much.
favorite?
You know what? I meant to look at that before. It's a good thing we're not doing a betting show. I would really suck at that. I think he is. Versus 1 second, sir.
You hear you typing?
Uh-huh.
You typing like Doogie Howser. I don't know if you remember that show.
I
You
type
know,
real fast.
Doogie Howser used to at the end of every show be like
Yuri is sitting around minus 130 to 146 is the range, and Ulberg has been listed at plus 100 to plus 116. So yes, Yuri is the favorite, though not a gigantic one, a definite favorite.
Yeah, I'm leaning Yuri on this one. I think that he's gonna be disruptive enough to break Carlos Ulberg and just kind of keep him in these patterns of just chaos. And I think Yuri gets to him and finishes him.
Finishes, I was going to say,
Yeah,
you think it's another? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I agree. All right, all right. Enough pressure on Dean. We'll switch now to the fan questions that I gleaned from my Instagram page. I've got 5, so let's not talk too long, otherwise this video will be another 30 minutes. But I've got Mo.Mar. He says, I'm Mo from Morocco. Love your show. Hi, Dean. What is the recipe to deal with Prochazka's awkwardness? Oh, well, we kind of just talked about that, but you can summarize it again.
Okay, well, to deal with his awkwardness, you got to stay in position. Remember, everything that happens outside of your circle is irrelevant to you until it gets in your circle. So you can't get out of position while he's out of your circle. When he's out of your circle, stay in position. When he gets in your circle, anticipate where he's going to be and catch him, or put your hands on him so that you can feel him, and then you'll know where to hit him. But it's all about being disciplined enough to stay in position. Most fighters lack that discipline. One, because they're not comfortable. They have to use their feet for defense, and that's good, but not always good. But it's a matter of being disciplined enough, being patient enough to stay in position and anticipate where you think Yuri's going to be when he enters your range.
All right, love it from the professor. All right, DJ_Crab says, who is next in line for a shot at the light heavyweight title? Okay, so I'm terrible at doing this off the top of my head, so I have the rankings pulled up. No worry, Dean. We've got Magomed Ankalaev, who's number 1. Yuri's 2, Carlos is 3, so that's obviously going to get settled out. You've got Khalil, who just fought Yuri and lost. So if Carlos wins, that could be an interesting matchup potentially. We've got Jan, who just fought Carlos and lost. So again, it really does depend on who wins this fight. We've got Azamat Murzakanov, Jamal Hill, Bogdan Guskov. Honestly, Bogdan will be an interesting injection in this whole scenario because other than that, when you start going down, you've got Volkan Oezdemir, Dominic Reyes, and Rakic, and Walker.
Whoa,
It's more repeats.
What happened to this division?
I don't know.
Whoa, man.
I don't know. So
This division turned into women's bantamweight.
it's not that bad. Hopefully Bogdan Guskov can continue to be pretty exciting. So that would be an interesting injection. I guess my answer to that question is it really just depends on who wins this fight because so many of these guys would be repeat matchups. We have to wait until we know who wins. Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Murzakanov.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fighting Paulo Costa coming up. So
Yes.
um,
Maybe the winner.
I was actually thinking him, but when you were rattling off those names, oh man, it's nothing really stands out that's exciting, right? It's like wow.
Not. Yeah. Okay. Number 3, Fretwood Mac. Would you please consider renaming your show Lean and Dean? I mean,
What is the lean? Like, are we talking lean?
I guess
Like lean?
I don't
Like
know. I guess
lean?
I'm
Or
lean.
like
You're
we talking
Dean. I'm
lean?
lean.
What kind of lean we talking? Yeah.
I'm not that lean though, so maybe if I cut down to like 15% body fat, we could consider that, but I am not there right now. So
Laura, don't. You were lean last time I saw you.
we'll have to table that discussion. Let's see here. I got a lot of carbs in Italy, Dean. Carl underscore underscore I don't know. Jiri has such a unique style. What about it do you think makes him so effective?
You want to answer that?
I mean, I can't. Yeah, to me, it's the rhythm. Like it's really, really difficult to read his timing and therefore understand his combinations. I think that he creates, like Dean said, he creates a lot of traffic, a lot of questions, a lot of things happening out here. And while you're trying to figure that out, he's already switched stances and is throwing something from his hip and something from his left temple. And like, it's just nothing is traditional. Nothing's like what you've seen in sparring for, 1,000 rounds. He's chaotic. And the more chaotic it gets, the better he gets.
And I'm going to add one thing to that.
Yeah.
Do you know how confident you have to be to stand in front of the biggest punchers in the light heavyweight division?
Their hands down.
With your hands down, doing what he's doing. Like when you watch, and like these might not even, I mean, light heavyweights to me have, equal power to light heavyweights. I mean, they just made the weight. You know what I'm saying? They're just heavyweights that made the weight.
Yeah.
And he's standing in front of these guys just like, what up?
Yeah.
Like it takes a tremendous amount of confidence to do what he did in front of a guy like Khalil Roundtree. Like, no, I'm not. Only way I'm standing in front of Khalil Roundtree is with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And this guy is doing it with his hands down.
And maybe that goes back to mastering his mind and being peaceful in really stressful, dangerous, potentially life-threatening situations where your body is telling you, do not do this, do not be here. And he's found a way to kind of shut that switch off and override it with a clear mind that says, no, we can figure this out. We can swim to the hole in the ice.
Well, apparently I have to reread the Book of the Five Rings because I didn't get to that part.
The 5 onion rings. Will underscore 2425 says, why is Jiri's footwork so awkward or slippery is the word that he used. I have a thought on that. I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts. He doesn't prioritize balance. I don't know why he doesn't prioritize balance, but he does not prioritize balance. I think for him, the art of surprise angles is probably more important than a traditionally balanced stance because he enjoys throwing things at an unexpected time. And part of throwing something at an unexpected time is doing it from a place where your opponent thinks, oh, their body's not positioned to be throwing a kick or whatever it is. When I'm reading my opponent and they're in this awkward stance, your brain goes, they can't throw a kick from there. They're not going to throw a knee from there. And then he does it, and it's effective for him. So I think he just doesn't prioritize balance as much as other fighters do.
Yeah, I mean, so now that you bring that up, I almost, as I'm trying to internalize this, like, what is balance really? Like it's like because what he does, So what he does is he moves out of balance in one position and just moves it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so because he's out of like it's like he spins himself back into balance, out of balance.
Yeah,
it is a weird thing. I kind of have to really dissect that a little more to maybe articulate that a little bit better. But because like while he might move himself out of balance from one spot, he finds himself in balance in another spot.
Because it's not the same thing as when I watch a really green fighter who's not balanced. Because they don't even know that they're not balanced.
Yeah, they just fall.
They overswing. That's always usually the biggest thing is that they're overswinging their punches and their kicks, and you can tell that they aren't even really aware of it.
Yeah.
because they're not coming into a new, more balanced stance.
Right. So I get what you're saying. And it's almost as if he allows his equilibrium to catch up to him wherever he's at.
Yeah, it's the
So
off
he
rhythm.
doesn't bring it back. He catches up to it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tricky to do.
I think we're onto something here, Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Noel Martinez. Does Ulberg possess any outstanding qualities that Jiri has not already seen at 205?
Do you want to go
Got a
first?
hell of a lead hand. He's got a hell of a lead hand. I would say that his lead hand is more educated and more dangerous than anybody that Jiri has faced before. I'm trying to think if as I say that, I'm trying to like, is it more educated, more dangerous than Pereira? Specifically the lead hand, I actually would say yes. But almost to like an extent where sometimes he doesn't throw his power hand enough. He relies on the speed of his jab into his hook and his hook into his jab a lot. And you don't see a lot of big guys doing that.
Well, I mean, while you say that, his lead hand, like Alex has got probably the best left hook in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that his lead hand is more educated than Carlos. Like Carlos' lead hand, like you said, it's his magic wand, and he waves it around and he uses it very effectively.
I like that, his magic wand.
Yeah, and he might be able to turn that into that left hook, the same left hook that caught Jiri when Jiri was fighting Alex the first time. Like that's so like that could be. So yeah, so like I don't know if Jiri has fought anybody with that type of lead hand education, but he has fought somebody with a good left hook, and that was Alex.
Sure, yes,
yeah.
And it didn't work out very well.
Yeah, and it didn't work out. So, but outside of that, I mean, you know, when you fight 30-something guys and beat them, like you're fighting some guys who can move. You're fighting guys who can do a lot of different things. But outside of like just that lead hand, you know, dexterity, I'm not sure that Carlos presents anything that he hasn't seen.
Maybe his face will distract him. Be like, shh.
What if he looks into his eyes and it's like, oh my, this guy's
that's a beautiful man. That's what my husband said when he watched the fight. He's like, that's a beautiful man. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, I hook you up. I can get the number.
Okay. With that, we'll close our conversation now. Any closing thoughts, Dean?
No, I think it's going to be a great fight.
It is.
If you are on the fence about being a fan, if you're one of those people who are like, oh, the UFC's falling off now, this is a great fight to watch, because I think the way these two fight, especially Jiri, like you can't run from them.
Yeah.
You can't.
This whole card is good, honestly. This whole card is really good.
No doubt about that. No doubt.
Sometimes I say that and I don't mean it, and sometimes I say it and I do mean it, and this time I mean it.
Yeah. Miami always delivers. Miami always delivers with sexy cards.
Absolutely. So, bringing the heat. Bringing the heat. As always, Dean is bringing the heat as well, and we thank you for that, Dean. We thank you for your time, your thoughts, your expertise. Guys, keep it locked in right here for more previews and etc. coming your way on this channel. Thank you very much.